Our next guest today is the Chief Executive Officer of Bombay Berlin Film Production. He has demonstrated the history of working in motion pictures and film industries. He is skilled in acting, he is skilled in comedy, feature films, documentaries, and has a very strong entrepreneurship history of the companies which he have. And you all know him since the time of the mega movie, the Oscar winner Slumdog Millionaire. He was a part of it. And coming from a town of Punjab, Moga, to the world cinema, let's welcome Arfi Lamba. Hello, Arfi.
Hi, Anubhav. Hi, Deepa. Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Hi,
Arfi.
welcome to Sukhoon Screen Side Chat.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. You had two amazing sessions. I was waiting and listening. What great people you had on board, man.
Of course,
Yes.
of course. Every time we manage to get the gems. Every
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
Now every Wednesday you have to watch our show.
I will be watching. I'll be watching this show for sure.
Yes, there's so much information. There's so much. There's this interesting conversations that we have on the chat.
Yes.
There are conversations that are trying to help you make sense of what's going on around us, which is like unprecedented. We are in like strange times right now. So yes.
We are, yes.
Yeah.
So, Arfi, let me just dive straight into the conversation.
Sure.
You're a very spiritual person. You're known to be a spiritual person. Let me begin by asking you something about spirituality. How do you define spirituality? There are multiple definitions of spirituality. Everybody has their own take on spirituality. How would you define spirituality?
The very basic principle of you grow up being an Indian into a very spiritual mold from the very childhood, So I'm a Sikh. We are born into a belief that saints are everything, Vani, saints are the ones that lead to God. The tradition of Indian Punjabi culture is singing, bhajan, kirtan, Bulle Shah. Yeah. I grew up in that environment, where the connection with God was through love. It was all love,
Right.
all love defined. But still, then I fell in love with Krishna. I loved the way Krishna was, a Godhead personality. With Krishna, when I came and I fell in love with Krishna, I kind of defined my spirituality in a way that he was one God you can love the way we wanted to. He can be your child, he can be your God, he can be your friend. I decided to make him my friend. And I was still searching for the meaning of a connection that would work for me, And then I became an actor. I started doing acting courses. One of the biggest principles that I learned as an actor was that to be a good actor, you have to be a good human being. So your teachers taught this. At the end of every class you hear, to be a good actor, you have to be a good human being. You have to be. It's just there. You know what being a good human being is, and it all stays with you. It's only when you're living one fine day and epiphany happens and you realize what that meant. That just does not mean that you have to be good and polite. That means you have to do good. That means you have to feel good. That means you have to lift people. That means if you're doing something wrong to me, I have to get over it and try to help you. Somebody who's not being nice to you is a cry for help from that person. Spirituality for me is understanding and empathizing. Spirituality for me is that if you cannot understand another person's point of view and you're just one of those angry, idiotic people claiming to be super connected but doing strange things, that's crazy. It's about being good. It's about,
Yes,
So,
yes.
that's
In fact, we have been discussing, since you were listening to our chat with other guests also, we have been discussing this a lot about pandemic, and there is a different scenario right now. So not only limited to pandemic, but my question is, what is the importance of spirituality in one's life? I think, is he frozen?
Yes,
Yes,
I think
correct.
there's a little network issue. But I think Arfi explained the entire concept of spirituality so well.
Yes.
His definition, of course, there are so many people who have different definitions on spirituality, and his take on spirituality is something that I think a lot of people would agree and resonate with.
Yes. So Arfi, if you're listening to us, you can re-log in and I'll bring you in again. So wow, but what a lovely conversations we are having right now.
It's really, really amazing. I mean, it's so interesting, and I think it's getting interesting by the week. Every week we're getting such amazing people. I look forward more than I'm sure a lot of people look forward to our Screen Side Chats, but I personally look forward to, because there's so much to learn, there's so much to discuss.
Yes. So I'm bringing in Arfi. He is online. Let me, without any delay, bring him and continue our chat.
My
Yes, sir.
sincere apologies. You don't know what happens to these internet broadband connections. They just go
You
out
really
and they want
can't.
to.
It's
It
just
happens. It's
technology.
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's just technology. Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, please. Yeah.
So we were talking about the scenario right now, and why spirituality is important for one person. Like, maybe not considering only the pandemic, because I don't want to limit this part to the pandemic. But what is the
Yeah.
importance of this spirituality according to you?
I think basically in these days, my spirituality has boiled down to one thing. It is what it is. What happens is that we are in pandemic. I
Yes.
cannot go out. I wanted to shoot a film that was almost signed, and it's all cancelled. So I can either sit down and make a story of thinking, oh my God, my life is gone. I got a chance to do a big film, big project, and it's not happening now. Or I can actually just believe it is what it is. There was a project that was happening, which is not happening now. I can attach a new story to it and live on hope. So I think what anybody needs to make sense of the pandemic right now is strip down whatever is happening in your life to basic truth, and then find out how you're gonna move forward, rather than attaching too many stories and letting the negativity come into it. Just strip yourself of the negativity, see the things for as they are, and then try to make sense of them.
Absolutely. I think, like Parag said, it's so important to shift our own energy. It's all within.
Yes.
It's not coming from outside, it's all within. So, Arfi, I would like to ask you, what is the difference between being religious? While we're talking about spirituality, there is a thin line between being religious and being spiritual. So what is the right balance between being religious and being spiritual?
I believe that it's in due course of time, in the modern spirituality, we have given religion a bad name. For me, religion is spirituality. When people become too ritualistic, and those who bring a bad name to religion are the people who don't understand religion, are the ones who practice it in a very fanatic and very superficial way. So for me, religion is very different. You need to connect to the universe and to the energy around you. Like the other day, Deepa, we were talking about it. That if I decide to get a sign from universe and I say, okay, a black cat passing my road is a sign of money coming to me that day, it'll start happening like that. It's not about the cat, it's about your connection and the sign you wanted, the way you wanted it. Somewhere somewhere a cat will jump up, like, or I'd say, okay, the day I'm supposed to have a fight with somebody I love, from with my mother or whatever, my hand has to itch, and my hand will start itching to give me those signs. So
absolutely.
It's like, it's the connections that you need to have. Religion is getting a bad name because of fanatics, because of people who are very shallow. Otherwise, spirituality and religion is one thing. Spirituality has stemmed out of religion. That's me.
Yes.
That's my
absolutely. I would really want to tell you at this point, Arfi, I love that conversation that you and I had that day about the black cat crossing, and then we kind of it's all the energy. It's what we want. It's completely what the universe tells us. These are signs that we need to look for, and how we interpret these signs is completely on us.
Yes, it's completely healthy.
So moving from one of your favorite topics is spirituality to your another favorite topic, which is cinema. So if you can tell us, since you started only with Slumdog Millionaire, which actually was a facet of Indian movies worldwide. So how do you feel that has changed? Obviously, right now also in our chats, if I can read some questions which people are asking, here is like Ashwini is asking that can OTT streaming platform be ever replaced by the magic of movie theaters? So a lot of things have changed in Indian cinema. That's what we are trying to ask you. That how do you take it, where it is ongoing? Because there is obviously not talking about any controversies around, but how has it evolved and how it will evolve right now?
You can never take away the magic of silver screen. You can never take away. Not for me, not for my generation. I'd like to believe for these youngsters also. When we started doing OTT boom came in 2019 in a big way. So when we saw that boom coming, we all were worried that this is this generation who are in their teens and all, who like to consume their content on phone. How do we get them back to a theater? But then there were films that would come and would become blockbusters with all these, everybody going and watching them. So I think that we have to start distinguishing between the content made for television, made to be consumed from the comfort of your home, and then there's content that's made for silver screen, where you go out and watch. I believe that at 10 it is going to release. The day Christopher Nolan's film releases, we all will throng theaters. You can never take away that magic. But I do hear you.
Yes. I have a lot of questions. Sorry, because the questions are popping up. I don't want to miss out any of them. So I have actually two questions here. Sushma is asking, how important are stories we tell ourselves, according to you? Do they dictate our reality, and how?
So just like I said, it is what it is. I am an actor right now whose film that he wanted to did not happen. I can attach a new story to it, which is I am going to do the film when the pandemic gets over. Or I can attach another story, which is going to be like, oh, my life is gone because 6 months down the line, the work's not going to be there. It's a story that we attach to everything. The stories that we tell ourselves, the beliefs that we make. There's a very nice saying, every cell of your body is listening to what you're thinking. You better think good things. You better tell yourself good stories. The only connection that you need to have is the strongest connection with your own self. That's where you are living. That's who you are living with. So I think Sushma asked a very correct thing. It's the most important stories are the stories you tell yourself. And you better make sure you tell good stories to yourself.
Yes, indeed.
It's a learning for everyone who's listening. Personal learning for me as well. We need to start telling good stories to ourselves.
Yes.
Totally. Thank you so much for this, Arfi. Arfi, there are a lot of filmmakers out there who want to explore cinema worldwide. It's not just locally, but globally, worldwide. What are the tips, as an experienced person in the filmmaking business, what are the tips that you'd like to give these aspiring filmmakers?
We produced 3 feature films, and we're right now doing a show for, developing a show for Hotstar specials.
Okay.
So I've met a lot of filmmakers, and I have gone through my own journey where I was a producer and starting. In the starting, you feel like I need to go to Cannes. My film should go to Berlinale. We should hit Venice with this film. But that's not the way to do it. It's always about a story. It's always about making a good story, a story that touches you. It's always about also, you make a film just because you are so convinced with that message that you want to give out, or that story that you want to tell. Then the Cannes, Berlin, Venice, international fame all happens automatically. If you try to make it for Cannes, for Berlin, for Venice, you will always fail. But if you want to make a story for what it is, for the true passion of it, you will always succeed. I remember Meera Nair was offered, we all know, I'm sure everybody knows, she was offered Harry Potter, one of the series, and parallelly she had to do Namesake. She had a choice. She could leave Namesake and she could do Harry Potter. And she dropped Harry Potter. And when there was a hullabaloo, like, how could you drop Harry Potter that we're taking? So she said that, anybody could make Harry Potter. But if I won't tell my own story, the story of my country, who will tell those stories? It's about telling our own stories that work anywhere else. This is one thing. You wanna rise up, you want to get international fame, you want to touch people all over the world, make your own stories stories which are authentic. And second thing is that make them with all your heart. Forget about everything else. Make a story that you would love to watch, and then you make a story that travels.
So true. I think that's those
in
wonderful
fact, a lot of questions are here, so I don't want to miss out. So Roshan is asking that you have played comic roles. You have been into a part of a thriller. They have seen you in Sing is Bling with Akshay Kumar. They have seen you in Fugly, which was a social message. So what is the genre which is your favorite? Like, what exactly you want to do?
Roshan, honestly, beggars cannot be choosers. I am not in a state where I can, but I can tell you that I have consciously I'm moving away from anything which is slapstick, which is objectifying women, which is something that I don't believe in. I am not 19 or 20 or 22 anymore. I'm moving towards a career where I want to create a conscious body of work that I'm proud of. So I would say that in future, I love comedy. I learned comedy on set. I'm not a comic actor. I'm a drama actor. But I was not trained in comedy. But I learned comedy from the best. I learned comedy from Prabhu Deva, from Akshay sir on set. I learned comedy actually from Kabir Sadanand when I started out on Fugly. So I think that's another thing that I love doing. But I would like to do, I would say that honestly, my favorite character, and that would define my genre, is Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, what Ajay Devgan did in that movie. That's an all-time favorite role. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to, define myself. Those kind of roles which are sensitive, which are deep, which have depth in them, where characters say less but they talk more. That would mean
more of performance based.
Yes. On that note, I also see a very interesting question. Ankit is asking, what do you enjoy more, producing or acting?
Wow.
So
he has nailed it.
Honestly, I started producing because I was not getting the kind of roles that I wanted after Sing is Bling. So you can either pack your bags and go, or you can actually start finding your way to stay in Bombay. And I love films. I love the whole process of making a film. one thing led to another. We were anyhow producing documentaries and short films, and we started ending up producing this feature film called Love. And when I made Love, after that we did Road to Mandalay, which opened up in Venice. Then we produced Rija. Somewhere down doing all of this, I don't know where I fell in love with producing. Now it's like having two children. You cannot say which one is your favorite. One of them came first. Your first child is special. So acting is something which is very close to my heart. But I enjoy doing both of them. Both of them define me equally, and I'm like, this is what I love doing. Films and making them and acting in them.
So any aspect of filmmaking is something that attracts you, and that's something that excites you.
So I cannot direct. That's something I'm very, very clear about in life. But I can produce and I can act. That's something where I am. Right.
Yeah, because he has spoken about producing. He has spoken about acting, and what I introduced you as that you belong to a family of farmers. Where you had no background of films, and a lot of people are talking about which I don't want to bring in the keyword. Without bringing in the keyword, I want to ask you, what has been your journey from a family of farmers to world cinema?
It's been as tough and as easy as we want to define it. Like I said, it is what it is. It is the journey, that you started from nowhere. When I landed in Bombay, I didn't know what Bombay was. When somebody told me Bandra's come, I was booked in a train. That's how you came to Bombay. And they said Bandra's come. So I was like, oh, where is Bombay? This was my knowledge of Bombay when I quit my job and I came to Bombay. So I would say the journey has been pretty satisfying. This is what Anushka said, and I love when she said this. If I'm an insider or an outsider, I don't care if I'm inside or outsider. I come here, I do my job, I go back home. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. It's definitely difficult when you come from outside. But I would say that it is what it is, You want to change the system. We all want to change the system. Then what we can do is that when I am doing something, I ensure that I don't do those mistakes. I don't do those things that hurt me. I don't hurt someone else. I protect the people in my realm, and I go ahead with my change. I think one day at a time, we can bring about any change that we want. I know where we are going. SSR's leaving us has left us all devastated. That's been a huge blow and pain to all of us. But let's remember him fondly, and let's change what we can so that nothing like this happens again.
Yes, in fact, I'm sorry, we are running out of time, but I have a lot of questions here where people are asking about your upcoming project, people are asking about your inspiration, people are asking about your dream role. So there are a lot of questions which are popping up right now, but since we have a very limited time, so to wind up, if you can just say a few messages to all the people who are watching us right now.
No, thank you to anyone who turned up, who spent this time, who watched and who was with us. I only have one message: live from heart. Then you can never go wrong. Our heart, when the body is formed, the first organ that gets formed is the heart. This is the way to live. This is the way to go forward. So, see you on the other side. See you in cinema. See you somewhere. See you at the movies. And all the best to everyone. Live the life from heart, and see you. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was so interesting.
That was so interesting.
So interesting.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. I'm so happy we could do this.
Thank you so much, Arfi.
for coming here.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.